Hi, I'm Linda. This yoga flow is particularly for all of you gardeners out there. It's designed to keep your body supple and fluid and such that you can enjoy your time in the garden. So I've designed the practice to be in 3 stages. So the first stage is what you would do before you go out into the garden. And you can do that either outside or inside, it doesn't really matter. And then the second stage would be while you're out in the garden, and I highly recommend that you take little breaks while you're out in the garden and keep your body moving and fluid while you're in the garden. And then the third stage would be your time to unwind and release and relax after you've completed your time in the garden. So while this is a flow that's specifically designed for the kinds of movements your body does while you're gardening, it's a nice yoga practice to do anytime at all. So we'll begin on your back. So coming into a comfortable reclining position on your back, just taking a moment to feel the connection that you have with the earth. And then drawing the right knee into your chest, giving the right knee a squeeze. And beginning to create space in the back of the body and beginning to open up in the hips a little. We'll spend more time making sure that the spine feels fluid and the hips feel open for your time in the garden. And your shoulders actually too. And taking that to the opposite side, extending the right leg down to the end of your mat, drawing the left knee into your chest. And then drawing both knees into your chest, giving both knees a gentle squeeze. And noticing the difference as you're just applying a little gentle pressure on the knees at the same time. Then placing the left foot on the mat, crossing the right ankle over the left knee and drawing the left knee in towards your chest. Right hand comes between the legs, left arm comes around the outside of the left leg. And then you're either clasping around the outside of the leg or behind the leg, behind the knee, whatever feels appropriate for you. Then drawing that left knee in towards your chest. You can feel the sensation of the opening in the outside of the right hip. We'll pause here for 2 breaths. Using each exhale to draw the left knee in a little more deeply. And then taking that to the opposite side, crossing the left ankle over the right knee. Left hand comes between the legs. Right arm comes around the outside of the right leg. Then you're drawing that right knee in towards your chest. You might notice how the movement could feel different on this side than it did on the other side. So feel free to adapt the movement in any way that feels appropriate for you. As you take one more breath here, drawing the right knee into your chest a little more deeply on the exhale. And then uncrossing the legs, drawing both knees into your chest, rocking a little from side to side, and gradually rocking over onto one side or the other, and pressing your way into a comfortable seated cross-legged position. Sitting up nice and tall on your sits bones, hands are on the knees, and beginning to take the torso in circles. So the circles can be whatever you want them to be. Maybe they're big, maybe they're small, maybe they're round, maybe they're not so round. Beginning to bring fluid into the spine. And the next time you come forward, pausing to change directions. And gradually bringing that movement to stillness, coming back to center, extending the right arm out to the side, opposite arm reaches overhead, and you're opening up in the side ribs on the left. So you're welcome to deepen that opening by bending the right elbow, just as long as the sits bones stay on the ground. So if you find you're tipping off the ground, then keeping the right arm straight would be more appropriate. And on an inhale, taking that right on over to the opposite side. Left hand touches down, right fingertips reach for the opposite side. Again, you're welcome to deepen the opening in the side of the body by taking a bend in the left arm or keeping the left arm straight, whatever feels appropriate for you. And then we'll windmill our way right into a twist. So the left hand comes to the right knee, opposite arm supports the posture nice and tall as you inhale. And as you exhale, taking the gaze over the back shoulder, and we'll pause here for 2 breaths. Always lengthening on your inhale and deepening the twist on the exhale. And slowly unwinding your way through center, taking that right on over to the opposite side so the left arm supports the posture nice and tall as you inhale. And as you exhale, taking the gaze over the back shoulder, and we'll pause here for 2 breaths. And 1 more breath. And coming back to center, bringing the soles of your feet together, coming into a cobbler pose. So sitting up nice and tall in the sits bones, supporting your posture with the hands behind your hips. And we'll pause here for 2 breaths. So we do a lot of squatting and kneeling in the garden. So keeping the hips open and supple is going to really support your time in the garden. And now bringing the hands forward, taking a hold of the feet. So you're gently taking a hold of the feet and noticing how the core had to fire up to support your posture nice and tall. And bringing the knees together, rolling right on over into table position on hands and knees. We'll take a few rounds of cat and cow breath here. So inhaling as you come into a little bit of a back bend, and exhaling as you press the floor away with your hands, sliding the chin in toward your chest. So we'll take that 3 more times, coming into a little back bend. Your spine will appreciate the back bends with all of that moving and folding forward we do in the garden, and then exhaling as you press apart the wings of the shoulder blades. Inhaling into the back bend, and exhaling as you tuck the chin into the chest. And taking it 1 final time. So this will be a nice move to do anytime that you're out in the garden. And exhaling as you spread apart the wings of the shoulder blades. And coming back into a neutral position, curling the toes under and pressing the hips toward the ceiling as you come into a downward dog. So letting the neck and head relax between your arms, pedaling the heels toward the mat 1 at a time, or gently allowing the heels to release toward the mat. And enjoying that lovely stretch along the whole back line of the body, right from the heels through the backs of the legs, and along the spine, right down the arms into the fingertips for 1 more breath. And then walking your feet forward to meet your hands, coming into a forward fold. So here in your forward fold, the hands can be resting on your shins or your feet, or even holding on to opposite elbows, which is a nice way of creating traction in the spine. And just letting the neck and head relax between your arms. And then as you feel ready, pressing the floor away with your feet as you roll your way to standing. Head comes up last. So this completes the first segment of the gardening routine, and this is the segment that you would do before you go out into the garden. So now let's assume you've been out in the garden for a little bit of time and you're taking a break and making sure you keep your body nice and supple so you can enjoy your time in the garden. And what follows are some moves to help you do that. So coming into your standing mountain, really feeling your feet on the earth. If you're standing in the grass, feeling your toes in the grass. And then bringing the hands behind your back, clasping the hands together and inhaling your way into a back bend. So you're welcome to take the back bend as deeply as feels appropriate for you. Keep the chin tucked into your chest if you like, if there's any tension in the neck. You can even bring the hands to your sacrum and deepen the back bend a little and support the back at the same time. And inhaling your way back to standing. And then taking the feet a little wide, pointing the toes out, and clasping the hands behind your back again, coming into a back bend with your inhale. And with your exhale, coming into a forward fold. So letting the arms extend over your head toward the earth.
And as you're stretching along the whole back line of the legs and opening up some more in the shoulders. We'll pause here for 2 cycles of breath. Letting the neck and head relax for 1 more breath. And unclasping the hands, bringing the left hand down onto the ground right in front of your forehead and sweeping the right arm toward the sky, coming into a twist. And we'll pause here for 2 breaths. And 1 more breath. And then lowering the right hand, you're welcome to take that to the opposite side. Inhaling the left fingertips for the ceiling or for the sky, you'd be outside. Taking your gaze toward the sky and noticing all the clouds passing by. And releasing that left hand back down onto the mat. Bring your hands to your hips and a little flex in the knees as you roll your way to standing. The flex in the knees is just a way of protecting the low back. And then bringing your feet together, returning to a standing position. And on an inhale, reaching the fingertips for the sky. Great big inhale as you reach for the sky. And exhale as you arc over to the left, taking your gaze through the right armpit and just noticing how this movement feels now relative to when you did it earlier in your practice before you came to the garden. And inhaling your way back to center and taking that right on over to the opposite side. And coming back to center, allowing the arms to release alongside your body. And then taking the feet just a little wider than shoulder distance apart and swinging the body, just really trying to loosen up the body. Keep the body nice and loose and fluid. So as though you had a coat on your shoulders and the empty coat sleeves are slapping around the body. And gradually bringing that movement to stillness. So that little segment of movements you're welcome to do throughout your time in the garden, maybe every 15 or 20 minutes or so, just to keep the body supple and fluid and soft and feeling really good. So assuming that you've now come to the end of your time in the garden, we'll take a few movements to help the body unwind and release. So you might be outside or you might be inside, so wherever you're at, coming down onto your tummy. If you're outside, maybe you're in the grass, just allowing your body to really feel contact with the earth. And so in Sphinx pose here, the elbows are underneath the shoulders at right angles. And then drawing the hands towards your rib cage. You're not really moving the hands, drawing the hands towards your rib cage, coming into a very gentle back bend. Sphinx pose, so keeping the gaze forward. And enjoying this back bend after all of that folding forward, bending forward that you've just done in the garden. Feel free to let the low back release and relax. And taking the gaze forward for 1 more cycle of breath here. Then lowering the torso, bringing the hands underneath your shoulders and pressing your way right back into child pose. So feel free to widen out your knees and cross the hands, giving yourself a place to rest the forehead. So the forehead can be resting on your folded hands or on the earth. We'll pause here in child pose for 3 nice, long, slow, deep cycles of breath. Just letting the back body continue to open. So this is a nice way of creating space in the back of the body, space in the low back without having to bend forward. And taking 1 more breath here. And slowly rolling your way back up. Head comes up last. And then coming into a reclining position on your back. Using your arms to support you to roll back down onto your back and taking a moment to connect the back of your body with the earth. And drawing both knees into your chest, giving the knees a gentle squeeze. And then extending the feet to the ceiling. The knees are still bent, taking a hold of the outside edge of your feet, or it could be the inside edge, it really doesn't matter. And then letting gravity and the weight of your arms draw the knees in towards your armpits, coming into a happy baby. Noticing how a happy baby is creating nice lengthening of all of those muscles that you likely were using as you moved about your garden. And taking one more breath here. And releasing the feet, drawing both knees into your chest, extending the arms out at shoulder height, and letting the bent knees fall over to the right, coming into a twist. So here you're welcome to experiment with the position of your head. Just being deliberate and noticing how changing the position of your head changes your experience. As you take 2 nice, long, slow, deep cycles of breath here. And then bringing the knees back to center and taking that twist right on over to the opposite side, letting the bent knees fall over to the left. Then again, you're welcome to experiment with the position of your head. And then allowing the whole body to soften downward as you take 2 cycles of breath here. As you feel ready, coming back to center, then widening out your feet just enough that the knees can fold in toward one another and rest on each other. Placing one hand on your belly and one hand on your chest. And taking a moment to allow the whole body to release and relax into the draw of the earth. Noticing all of the sensations that are circulating throughout your body from the toes right up to the head. All of the sensations created by your time in the garden. Welcoming the sensation of vitality that's coursing through your body. Feeling grateful for having the opportunity to spend this time in nature, tending your garden. And maybe setting an intention to care for your garden through its beginning, its middle, and its end. So you're welcome to stay here for as long as you like. And whenever you feel ready, drawing your knees into your chest, giving them a little squeeze, and rocking a little from side to side, gradually rocking over onto one side or the other, coming into a comfortable seated position, and just taking a moment to experience the sensation of your time in the garden. And have a brilliant day.